Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another chapter reading of Shattered Dreams Restored. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into chapter 9. So, despite a lot of this being repetitive, we're finally in some chapters where we're getting some new information. And according to this app, we are 52% through the book. Irene, I have a problem with that, girl. Your rating has officially gone down. And because of this, I don't think I'm going to read her third book because I can't do a repeat of stuff that we've already heard. I don't like it. But I'm excited to finally be getting into some newer things. So let's go ahead and begin chapter 9, Faith. All my life, I had cried out to God, not really knowing who he was and not having much faith in him. Brigham Young taught the Mormons that Adam was our God. Really? I struggled with that concept for years. If Adam was God, then why was he disobedient to a higher God in the garden? Exactly. If you're someone who believes in the Bible, the fact that Mormons feel like or Brigham Young taught the Mormons that Adam was God, that alone is like, whoa, how I that's mind-blowing to me. Okay, let me keep going. Why did he go against his commands? In my young mind, I could not comprehend how I was to believe in a God who would not listen to his own God. Then we were taught, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me. There is only one true God." My mind was burdened again. How come there were two gods in the garden? How can I trust a God who was not the same today and forever, and at his own whim broke his own rules? Then, to compound my dilemma, I was taught my own husband would be crowned a god and have his own world. So eventually there would be thousands of gods. It seemed to me that there was no reverence left for the Almighty God. That is crazy. Turn all devices on Do Not Disturb. When I say that alone is mind-blowing to me, I know that I heard about, the men becoming a god, but I never thought of it in that term. Like, I never thought to myself, like, wait a second here. We're sitting here and we're basically saying that there's going to be thousands of gods. This is, woo. We learned to shun the Bible because it was not translated correctly. Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, said that we would all get closer to God by reading the Book of Mormon because it contained the fullness of the gospel. He told the brethren that it was the most correct of any book on earth and the cornerstone of our religion. I've said it before and I'll say it again, and some people may disagree with me. I feel like no one religion has it all right. And I feel like that because man has gotten so involved in things and translation changes things that I'm not sure if everybody just is like, oh yeah, you interpreted this the exact way that it's supposed to be interpreted, which is why I feel like as long as you come from a point of love, then that means something in whatever your belief system is. Lead with love. Anyways, back to the book. A man would get nearer to God by abiding by its precepts more than any other book. Being that we had prophets among us, we were encouraged to explicitly obey them. So the holy book held no credence. Obey this man. Got it. See, everything is about turning to a man. At no point are they supposed to come to conclusion of anything on their own, like it's all through because this Book of Mormon says this, then this is what we're going to do. Even if it means that we're tearing apart families and we're making women feel like they're lesser than and like their job is to serve us so we can call them up. This is what we're going to do. During one of Lane's long absences to work in the States, my son Kalen invited me to Alaska to stay with him for a couple of weeks. I had been heartsick when I first heard he had become a born again Christian. In 1830, when Joseph Smith inquired of the Lord as to which church he should join, the Lord told him all Christian churches were an abomination before the Lord. He was told to not join any one of them. Therefore, Joseph Smith started his own, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. See, I guess this is the part that I'm having a problem with, right? And I don't remember when it was, but I know a long time ago, a member of the fam told me that Mormonism is different. Told me that when it comes, because I was saying that I don't understand how the Browns act like this when they say, that they're followers of Christ, whatever. And it was told to me like, no, they don't believe in a lot of that stuff. And hearing that you feel like a Christian is an abomination, how can you have Jesus Christ within your stuff? I need to keep reading because I'm really getting off focus here, but it's just not making sense to me, y'all. Like, even the name isn't making sense. No offense to anyone who practices this. I'm just, struggling with it. Anyways, I remember how our group laughed at Christians when we were told they had confessed with their mouths and accepted Christ. My peers would laugh and ridicule them, saying it was just too darn easy. Even though I was confused about religion at this point in my life, I still yearned for truth to cling to. And if I was going to follow any doctrine, it would be the familiar. I couldn't imagine that just accepting Jesus Christ was the answer. Kalen suggested that I needed to be born again. I wept bitter tears, believing that he'd lost his salvation and wondering if I'd already lost mine. Kalen, we've been given the truth through Joseph Smith, the Book of Mormon, and modern-day prophets. He didn't argue, but simply said, you owe it to me to go to my church and see for yourself what this is all about. So my only reason for accompanying him was so I could have a rebuttal when we returned home. By then, I could use my expertise and prove the truths the Book of Mormon contained. After all, I had years of experience in teaching the principles of Mormonism. I was overwhelmed as I entered the cavernous building. It looked more like a theater than a church. I was used to a small adobe church that was originally a large ranch house, so I had never attended such a large church, much less a Christian church. I girded my defenses, wanting to be safe among these heathen Gentiles. I sat almost to the back of the 2,000 or so worshipers. That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people. Especially if she's saying that she used to be in something smaller. That's a lot of people. I purposely took an aisle seat so I can make my rapid escape should I see the devil lurking around the pews. This was nothing like the tiny adobe building of Church of the Firstborn planted in the poverty and squalor of rural Mexico. Living most of my life without electricity, I was overwhelmed with the flashing stage lighting and the unfamiliar songs with lyrics projected on the screens. The loud volume of beating drums and screeching of guitars and various instruments resonated throughout the crowd as I tried to listen to the piano, hoping I would be able to join the singing. I was mesmerized as the thick crowd stretched out their arms with hands raised high, singing a song about Christ. The entire crowd seemed to sway in unison as they worshiped their God. On the second song, I was really taken aback. The countenances on almost every person exuded a joy I'd never witnessed before. I sensed their adoration and love to their God. I was caught up in the moment, seeing the entire group, hands held high, belting out praises and anthems. I was amazed to see the love that exuded from the throngs of people. It looked to me as though the entire crowd was in love with someone, as though they were wooing their beloved. I was transfixed in that moment when another new song appeared on the screen. As the deer panteth for the water, so my soul longeth after thee. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee. Song by Martin J. Nystrom, Nystrom, 1984, and is based on Psalms 42:1. In that moment, as I beheld the congregation worshiping a divine sovereignty, I felt as if I was that deer panting for vibrant living water. I wanted what they had. I cried out from the depths of my empty soul, "Oh God, whoever you are, I want to know you." In that instant, the floodgates of my soul flung open, and all my years of emptiness were filled with the presence of the Almighty God. I was completely enveloped in his unfathomable love. I sensed his whisper that still penetrates my being. "Where have you been that you have never worshiped me?" I never heard the message of the cross. I did not know Jesus loved me, much less that he gave his very life for me. I had never heard that I was saved by grace and not by works. Mormon fundamentalists taught that my husband was my savior. It's strange how I was told I had to do good works and earn my way to heaven. I always longed to obey God and do his will because I wanted to be counted among the saints. Yet, the longer I lived and the harder I worked, the more despair I felt. I had walked in the church very skeptical, hoping to find something within which to confront my son. But this awesome, all-knowing God found me. He not only lifted years of chronic depression, hopelessness, and painful burdens that I had carried for 3 decades, but he also completely freed me by filling me with his divine love. I knew that life would not be without further heartache and pain, but I knew I had a God who would walk me through every step of it. After my supernatural experience, I wrote a letter to my daughter, Donna, who had accepted Christ several years earlier. It was written on February 23rd, 1985. Dear Donna, I don't know if you've heard, I'm a born-again Christian. I feel that's what I lacked in life. I feel peaceful and know God loves me. I believe the Bible is true, all of it. I am so very touched that you led the way years ago and became the first one in our family to become a Christian. It's sort of blown my mind because I can't hold on to any of my formal beliefs. I don't believe in much, only Christ. I told several members of the family I've been converted. They're all concerned for me. As soon as the rest of our group finds out I've given up Mormonism, I know I will be treated like I have AIDS. That's something to say. Because I don't believe what you believe, you're gonna treat me like I'm sick. Not that you should treat anybody differently for any of those reasons, but I'm just saying this is what her comparison is, which is why I have a problem with so much judgment being out there in the world. You don't have to believe what I believe. It's okay. But if we accept one another for who we are, can y'all imagine what this dynamic would be like? If people would just focus on themselves and not worry so much about what the next person has going on and just love them, even if they don't necessarily agree with you or believe what you believe. I'm just saying. Back to her letter. All I have is Jesus. I don't know what to do with my life or where to go from here, but I know I can have Christ in my life and be happy anywhere. Love, Mother. I felt guilty knowing that living with a married man wasn't an ideal situation. I knew that God had to come first and foremost in my life, but I wasn't willing to surrender Lane unless God himself intervened. I didn't care about religion as much as I did a relationship with my newfound God. Yet, my heart was tangled. I felt that Lane was in my life for a purpose. Nonetheless, I feared Lane would reject me when he learned about my miraculous conversion. To my surprise, when I shared the good news, it made no difference to him. Lane expressed he wanted me regardless of my religious beliefs. I knew our relationship was not biblical, but my God would have to rectify the situation. I was on a spiritual high and crazy in love. On June 25th, 1985, our anniversary came around. It was difficult for me to even comprehend we'd been together for 3 years. It seemed that our time together had just flown by. I believe that I spent more one-on-one time with him than I had in my 28 years with Verlin. That says a lot. 3 years, and this man had other wives. She spent more time with Lane in 3 years than she did Verlin in 28 years. Wow. Much of that was, of course, because of his spending time with numerous wives and the fact that he was working in the States to support us. I relished every waking moment. I hated to see the years slip by so quickly because I wanted to savor the experiences of ecstasy that we shared forever. In moments of reverie, I remembered Linda's burning question she asked me the night I married Lane. What will this marriage be about? So many times I pondered my surprising answer. It will be between love and principle. That love inspired me to write at least 30 poems for Lane. My darling Lane, I say your eyes are blue. You swear to me they're green. Regardless of the color, they're the most loving eyes I've seen. Your eyes smile at me. They laugh at me. They please me all day long. They call me to speak to me. They even sing a song. Oh, how I love those precious eyes, for they're the windows of your soul. Every time I catch your glance, you tell me more than I could ever know. Speak to me with loving eyes, and I'll be satisfied. They tell me more than words, however hard you've tried. Your way of saying things far surpass mine, things unspoken, tender, yet divine. Kiss me with your loving eyes, whatever color they may be. Hold me with those loving eyes and whisper tenderly. The dancing magic of your eyes, yes, it expresses you. So it matters not, my love, if they are green or blue. Yes, speak to me with loving eyes, as you do constantly. I will understand and love you eternally. Smile at me with loving eyes. Oh, darling, let them shine. I will get the message and know that you are mine. Oh, isn't that sweet? Here's the thing. I love poetry. I think it's sweet, but we have to remind ourselves that she said that she wrote all those poems and she's in her 40s. And this kind of sounds like that adolescent love. Not that love can't be that. Let me, I don't want to sound like I'm a cynic because I'm not. I just sometimes wonder where she is because she's been stunted a lot because of the way that she was raised. But let's keep reading. For Lane's 38th birthday, I gave him 2 beautiful blue embroidered Western shirts that I proudly handmade myself. I served homemade mango ice cream, his favorite, and German chocolate cake. That don't even sound like it goes together. Ugh. And I like mango. No, anyways, I'd do anything for this man because I unapologetically, get it out, girl, flipped over him. I couldn't ask the universe for anything more. Lane fulfilled me in every aspect of my life. We spent many a night pushing each other out of the bed, laughing and horsing around. The greatest blessing was how he reciprocated. He swore I knew him better than anyone else. I expressed my profound love for him by reading my latest poem. Lane. Each morning I awake with you by my side. I'm so overcome that my emotions I hide. My heart is singing. I just tingle with love. I feel to shout to my heavenly Father above for all the blessings which he's given me, too numerous to count, too many to see. I'm filled with a deep sense of pride as I lay here dreaming right here by your side. Just knowing you love me as much as you do gives my life meaning and just thrills me through. I cannot say enough. I praise the heavens above that I have you someone so special to love. Thank you, dear Lord, and I'll say it again for giving me love by giving me Lane. My best friend Linda was impressed with my poems, but admitted she'd have a hard time finding words that rhymed. She said she'd be in big trouble if she wrote any for her husband because his name was Chuck. Okay. All right. After I read my latest poem to Lane, he shed tears, confiding in me that his biggest fear was the thought of losing me, a love he had valued and waited a lifetime for. So does that mean he didn't love his other wives? If he said that he waited a lifetime to be with her? I accompanied Lane to the mountains near the town of Bravo, where he planted oats every year. His white Ford truck had been banged up pretty much before he'd ever bought it. While traveling on the freeway in Utah, he just happened to drive by when he noticed the truck in a stranger's yard. In fact, he traded a 100-pound sack of pine nuts for the vehicle. The truck ran well, but the previous owners had just parked it for a couple of years because they couldn't afford to do the body work. They believed it would cost more money than the smashed up truck was worth, so they gladly made the trade. When Lane bought it, he had no intention of repairing it. As long as it would run, he felt he had a steal. I was embarrassed to ride in it myself, but Lane didn't seem to mind. He knew he had something of value, especially for use in Mexico. The good news, he said excitedly, is I don't have to worry about someone stealing it. That's true. Because I've had my truck for a couple months now. Well, not a truck, my crossover for a couple months now. And when I say that I see like little dings up there that were never up there when I purchased it, yeah, I get it. He's like, it's already jacked up, so if it gets anything else, it is what it is. I understand. I packed a sleeping bag, also a couple of blankets and pillows, plus a few necessary cooking utensils. I looked upon this trip as an adventure. It would be the first time I camped out with Lane. I love camping. Y'all, I love camping. Like, I really, really do. Nature, ugh. I had camped out 3 or 4 times before with Verlin and 12 to 15 of his children when we picked pine nuts in Nevada for several years. I did all the cooking over a campfire, so I was used to working outdoors in the cold. Once we arrived in an open field in the mountains where Lane intended to plant the oats, we set up camp. I was nervous knowing we were out in the middle of nowhere, especially hesitant about sleeping out where the coyotes could be heard howling in the distance. Lane laughed at my concerns, assuring me we were safe. We quickly set up a small tent, hurrying to drive in the stakes before it was too dark to see what we were doing. Our only source of light was a kerosene lantern. In spite of the cold mountain air, I fried potatoes and onions over the campfire. We were both starved because we hadn't eaten for several hours. Beneath the starry slate night, we enjoyed filling our tummies with hot food, hoping to fend off the cold. Both of us giggled as we forced ourselves into Lane's cold sleeping bag, hoping our bodies would keep one another warm. Though it was late summer, the crisp mountain air was very chilly. By lamplight, I reached into my suitcase nearby for O.G. Mandino's book, The Greatest Miracle in the World. Is it Oj? I actually said OG, but it's OG, like the letter OG. Oj. I read far into the night until my hand was too stiff from the cold to hold the book anymore. So I tucked my hand inside the sleeping bag to warm it up. We readjusted our tight position. Then once more, I continued using my other hand to hold the book up, just enough to read from the light of the flickering lamp. Lane loved for me to read to him, since he admitted he wasn't a reader. In awe, I pressed him further. He regretfully admitted he hadn't read a book since he left high school. Wow. Finally, with heavy eyes too sleepy to continue, I put the book down. I cut my hand over the glass chimney, then blew out the lamp. We slept in one another's embrace. We were both laughing at daylight when Lane was trying to extricate himself from the narrow sleeping bag with me in it. I thought it was funny. I couldn't help but laugh. It reminded me of a woman trying to remove her tight girdle. I'm getting an image. Okay. When Lane returned from taking a leak, he was chilled to the bone from the bitter cold. So he forced himself back into the sleeping bag beside me, hoping to warm up quickly. Though the morning light was dim within the tent, I started reading again. I'll never forget when I finished the touching book as I read the last paragraph. Tears fell from Lane's eyes because he said the story was so profound. Moved by his compassion, I let the book fall to the floor of the tent as I surrendered myself completely to the man of my dreams. I was wondering when they were going to get it in, because my thing is, y'all are two grown adults and you're married. I don't know if she considered herself married or not. He considered them married. But y'all are two grown adults and you outside. What better way to warm up? Do your thing, girl. Do your thing. I'm just saying. After a warm breakfast over the campfire, we got to work. There was so much to be done. I rode on the tractor with Lane while he tilled the land, preparing it for the oat seed. In the late afternoon, black clouds seemed to gather overhead from out of nowhere. Before we could get down from the tractor, we were caught in a powerful downpour. So not only do you have to deal with cold, but now you're going to be wet too. We ran as fast as we could toward the tent for cover, but to our shock, right before our eyes, the wind tore the tent from its stakes, ferociously whirling it into the air many feet away, landing in the freshly plowed field. Lane yelled for me to follow him through the torrents of rain as we scampered toward the truck for cover. I followed his orders as I crawled beneath the vehicle. He scurried to save some of our drenched grub by putting it in the cab of the truck, which was packed with supplies and 3 100-pound sacks of oat seed. After he tried to save the bedding from getting drenched, he joined me beneath the truck. Bringing a partially damp blanket for a protective cover, it rained cats and dogs for about 15 minutes. Seeking warmth, I huddled securely in Lane's embrace. I felt completely safe in spite of the continuous drenching downpour. Electrical flashes streaked repeatedly across the thundering, darkening sky. I couldn't help but think, if only my 13 kids could see me now, they'd all think I'd lost my mind. Here I was, soaked under a banged-up truck that should have been junked, and enjoying every minute of it. What crazy things one does for love. Again, I wrote to Donna, September 5th, 1985. Dearest Donna, last Friday I went to the mountains with Lane. We had 3 flats and all sorts of problems, but finally returned home safely. I've never been so happy, and love is 97% of it. The other 3% is insanity. Lane treats me like a queen. She wrote, haha, that's why I did that. No one has ever given me so much attention or allowed me to just be myself. Honestly, I never intended to be this happy, ever. It's like a dream come true. I just hope I never wake up from my happily ever after. I broke down and cried when Lane left last night. I feel so alone with him gone. He expressed how deeply he appreciates me. He is so neat, and I'm head over heels in love with him. He listens and understands me. Who would have ever believed this crazy love? When I think over my life, all I've gone through, the sadness, rejection, and heartache, and I see that the shoe is now on the other foot, I shout for joy. I truly have the world by the tail. If I died tomorrow, I would say I've truly had it all. Love you dearly and thank the Lord for you. Thanks for always being my sounding board, your precious, ever mother. And that is the ending of that chapter. How many pages is this next one? Okay, I'm going to read the next one. I didn't intend to do that because this is going to be posted on a Monday. And Monday is Sister Wives Days. And I know how that goes with the viewage. But Not everybody watches that. So here we are, y'all. Chapter 10, Shattered Dreams. Oh, Shattered Dreams. Not trying to celebrate. I'm just, anyway. 2 weeks after Lane and my romantic campout, I flew to San Diego to visit my 4 older boys who were still helping me out financially. They work long hours in drywall making good wages. Wait a second, they're still helping her out financially even though she's married. Lane's finances were always scarce. When I married him, I promised that I would not be a burden nor take any of his money. He needed to support his other families. So you got married and you didn't require for this man to support you in any way. Irene, we still got some things to work on here, boo. And I'm not saying that he has to support you completely, but it sounds like you're not taking anything from him. I'd only spent a week in San Diego when Lane called expressing his desire to see me. I was elated. So I decided to cut my visit short. In every situation, no matter where I was, when he sent for me, I dropped whatever I was doing and run into the arms of the man I worshiped. That's the problem right there. Worshipped. Not loved, worship. I'm not worshiping no man. My married son, Stephen, rushed me to the airport to catch my plane. During our conversation, he grew quiet, then suddenly exploded. You married a son of a bitch. What? Oh, and it says what? What? What in the world? How do we get to that? Betty knows Lane molested her girls. That's why she left him. Betty swears it's true, and I believe it's true too, so you better find out for yourself. The accusation was so absurd, I just brushed it off as vicious gossip. Y'all, my stomach dropped when I just read that. I was not expecting that. If anyone knew Lane, I did. In my eyes, he was next to perfect. I assured Stephen that I'd find out the truth and squelch the horrible rumor. I left immediately on a flight for El Paso, Texas. As I disembarked the plane, I anxiously hurried through the long, crowded corridor, tingling with excitement. I caught Lane's eye as the escalator descended, taking me closer to the torrid flame. Lane scooped me into his arms. He looked so good. I seemed to melt in his embrace as he locked his lips with mine. We spent a most memorable evening eating steak, then cuddling in the booth at the restaurant. See, Irene. We don't know yet if this is true or not, but the fact that this was told to me right before I got on a plane, the first thing I'd probably be doing, and some of y'all may disagree with me, but the first thing I'd be doing was asking him about this situation, because I'm not going to be chumming up with you once I hear something like that. It's going to bother me. I don't even know the situation now, and my stomach is like, Oh, I done messed up something. Okay, as always, I experienced a strong magnetic pull between us. Our hearts were cemented together as though with crazy glue. I felt I could never survive without him. Later, while dancing, wrapped firmly in his embrace, cheek to cheek, he softly whispered sweet, reassuring words of his never-ending love. My eyes moistened. I experienced pure joy as we waltzed into the wee hours of the morning. Things were just too good. Never in my entire life had I been happier. We arose early for a continental breakfast in our hotel, then got into Lane's 18-wheeler, which was loaded with Boys Cascade lumber. We had to drive from El Paso to Albuquerque. Being that it was my first experience traveling in such a huge vehicle, I was as excited as a child. En route to pick up the semi, we stopped at a convenience store. I bought Fig Newtons, sunflower seeds, 2 Cokes, and 2 big hunk candy bars for the road. Once we settled down in the semi, I reached in my purse and brought out the inspirational magazine, Guidepost. Speaking louder than usual above the noise of the racing motor, I read story after story, stories of faith and love about people determined to make a difference among their fellow men. When I'd finished, I tucked the magazine away in my purse, deciding to spend a quiet moment just relaxing. In the midst of my excitement, I remembered my unpleasant conversation with Stephen. No way did I want to repeat such a nasty story, yet I felt if Lane's unhappy wife was spreading such vile accusations, he needed to hear it. I related almost word for word what Stephen told me. Other than the sound of the roaring motor, there was dead silence. I felt sick inside that I offended him, ashamed that I repeated such a sadistic rumor. In that moment, I was afraid I lost his trust permanently. I hope he didn't think I was capable of believing such a horrific falsehood. I sensed he was completely crushed because he remained silent. Oh, goodness. So I immediately came to his defense. If I had someone who was spreading vicious lies about me like Betty's doing, I would kill her. Immediately, I felt convicted for my inappropriate harshness, so I apologized. I'd at least confront her and put an end to it. Minutes passed with no response. It's true, y'all. This is true. Because why are you letting all this time pass and you're not saying anything? I happened to glance in the rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of Lane's face. Seeing tears the size of pearls, almost too large to drop from his blue eyes, he finally spoke. You wouldn't, because it's true. His words shocked my senses like a stun gun. My brain couldn't even compute what he'd said. What? Are you telling me it's true? Yes. More tears fell. I molested Betty's 3 girls. And that's the reason she kicked me out. Why is it always the ones that you least suspect? Now, some of them you can get a feel for, but there's a lot of them out there that fly under the radar, which is why they're able to do what they do. Not 1, not 2, but all 3 of them. Why on earth didn't you tell me? My world almost flew off its axis. I clenched my fist with rage. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he spoke. I knew if I told you, you wouldn't have married me. You're damn right about that. I began convulsing from despairing moans and groans. My pitiful sobs became uncontrollable as my life flashed before me. I'd endured regret, remorse, fear, disappointments, rejection, thoughts of suicide, and clinical depression. Now this. Oh, the raw pain. I'm not saying that she doesn't have a right to be upset or to be feeling like this, but imagine how those 3 young ladies feel and how their mother feels. What she's saying right here doesn't even begin to touch what they feel. I couldn't focus. My mind was paralyzed, yet I knew I had to guard my actions. In my agony, I tried to convince myself to keep my hand off the handle of the semi's door. In my volcanic rage and utter desperation, I wanted to fling the door open and throw myself out onto the rushing freeway. Every feasible hope and desire I ever held was torn from my very soul. I barely recuperated from the anguish and the despondency over Verlin's death, then found a love I could only hope to find in this entire lifetime. But Lane's confession revealed that my marriage was all built on lies. My mind whirled as I analyzed every phase of our union. It was grounded on deceit. I'd been duped. My perfect lover was a traitor. I feared I needed to be hospitalized because of the panic that seemed to grip my entire body, almost smothering me. All I knew was I needed to run somewhere far away where I could get control and try to stop my reeling mind. I was incapable of conversing any longer. We rode on in complete silence except for the sound of Lane's sniffles and the noisy traffic on the crowded freeway. After we delivered our load of lumber, I demanded to be taken to the airport for a flight back to El Paso. Lane tearfully pled, urging me to stay with him as he tried to apologize, but what really knocked the wind out of my sails was when he informed me it was none of my business. What exactly is Lane crying for? Is he crying because he regrets it, or is he crying because he's been caught and he knows he's going to lose her? I think it's the latter. I don't think it's regret. Because if you really and truly regretted it, even though you're ashamed, you would have told her and you wouldn't have allowed this to go on without saying something. And then you add to it, get out, it's none of your business. Oh no. It wasn't one of your girls, so stay out of this. Thank God, I mocked, wanting to regurgitate. If it doesn't pertain to you, then forget it. Lane, if I saw a stranger on the street who told me she were being molested and I refused to come to her aid, I wouldn't be worth a damn. Irene, I know you love me too much to ever give up on me. He tried to hug me goodbye. Numbly, I pushed him away, refusing his impending kiss. Dazed, I turned around, making sure I did not look back. I knew if I did, my rage would turn into an atomic explosion. Paralyzed with grief and close to losing my sanity, I boarded my flight back to El Paso. I questioned if I should give up on humanity because Lane, who was esteemed by so many, had deceived all of us for so many years. No, that's what a lot of them do. Still in a daze, I crossed over the border to Ciudad Juarez in a taxi. From there, I took a bus 4 hours to Colonial LeBaron, arriving around midnight. My children knew me too well. They could tell immediately the light in my eyes had been extinguished. My 2 teenage daughters, Barbara and Margaret, tried to pry it out of me. Are you and Lane having problems, Mom? Please tell us whatever's bothering you. I could not and would not speak of my horrific pain. It was far too serious to even share it with my best friend Linda. When I thought of her, I again remembered my words to her on the night of my wedding. It's between love and principle. Only now, did I know the interpretation of those words. Would I love him enough to just push this terrible confession aside, knowing I'd lose everything if I revealed the secret? Was there any possibility I'd cling to this torrid love affair that comes only once in a lifetime? I knew there was not a chance in a million. As bad as I wanted him, I had to walk away. To me, principle had to come first. That's right. That's right. My daughter Margaret, who was visiting me from Los Angeles, awakened from her deep slumber in the adjacent bedroom by my groans. She hurried into my room and slid her slender body into my bed, hugging me close, offering me comfort. What's wrong, Mama? Please tell me what's going on in your life. Are you having problems with Lane? Is he treating you badly? I apologized that she heard my woeful cries. I did not want her to bear my sorrow, knowing there was nothing she could do about it. It's just me, honey, so please just let it go. The following day, while doing lunch dishes, I burst out in wails of anguish. I was completely disappointed in myself. When Barbara entered my kitchen, finding me bawling uncontrollably, belching out groans of agony. Mama, please, please, I've never seen you like this in your entire marriage. Please, what's wrong? Share it with me. When she realized I was determined to remain silent, she took Margaret for a ride over to Linda's. They knew she would surely know my dilemma. I later learned that Margaret was so frustrated by the time she got there that she lit right into Linda. I don't know what your problem is, but whatever you told our mother has devastated her. All she does is weep. She's so distraught she can hardly function. Have you discouraged her with your problems? Linda quickly denied any involvement. She let the girls know that she would find out what was going on. So my best friend barged into my house, her face as serious as a corpse. Come on, kid. We're going for a ride to El Valle. Valle? V-A-L-L-E. During our 12-mile ride, she revealed the concerns my daughters have for my unusual behavior. She laughed at how preposterous it was to think that she was the cause of my problems. Please, Irene. What's going on, please? Through tears, I admitted I felt as though I was dying. I haven't been over to see you because I've been too distraught. I do have a huge problem, one that I can't reveal, not even to you. Wow, you're not getting a divorce, are you? No, it's worse than that. I could see the shock in Linda's face. Tell me, please. I'll tell you, but only if you promise not to reveal it to a soul. See, this is kind of... I get that she has to tell people, but this is kind of rough because there are 3 victims in this that may not want everyone to know. So I can see why she may be hesitant to tell them if it's because she's worried about how it will affect them. Reluctantly, as my frightening groans and sobs grew louder, I shared my devastating, crumbling world. Linda, I'm married to a pedophile. Linda immediately pulled to the side of the road and stopped the car. She put her head on the steering wheel, taking deep breaths, trying to digest the shocking information. Irene, you must do something about this. It can't go on another day. Oh, those poor kids. At Linda's suggestion, I confided in Lane's older brother, Harvey. Immediately, a church court was convened with about 20 elders present. Lane shed tears and begged for forgiveness during the trial. So, wait a second. The mom didn't say anything about it? Huh. By unanimous vote, he was ordered to leave the colony for a year and not interact with any of his wives or children. He seemed to accept his punishment and abide by the terms of the probation. My world caved in on me. I thank God that he had revealed himself to me in such a powerful manner only months before. Otherwise, I never would have been able to cope. His divine presence gave me the strength to continue on despite the heart-wrenching pain and devastation. Not only had innocent lives been destroyed, but my love life had been shattered. During that year, I spent my time keeping busy. I grew my vegetable garden, made cheese every day, and canned several hundred quarts of fruit and vegetables. But like a zombie with no focus, I functioned as though in a nightmare. With Lane's first and foremost in my overloaded mind, I performed my duties, unaware of the task at hand during the day, then soaked my pillow with tears at night. Kathy and Estella returned from the States to their abandoned homes in the colony where family and church members could help them. And because they could no longer depend on Lane for financial support, most importantly, they wanted the security of knowing their children were safe and out of harm's way. I tried to lift their burdens, so out of necessity, I equally divided my stash of canned food between the 3 of us, plus Betty. I paid to have all of the electrical wiring strung in Kathy's house, where in the near future she'd be able to have electricity. I installed a new cabinet, sink, and water taps in the kitchen. Also, 2 new screen doors to keep out the hordes of flies. Kathy was grateful because she had a new baby and needed my help. Although I helped her out financially, she still held resentments towards me. We were just civil to one another, but I always wanted the best for her. I did all this stuff in your house. I'm giving you money, even though I'm taking money from my kids and using that money on y'all, and I'm sharing my food and all these other things, and you're resenting me. Got it. She wouldn't have been getting nothing. I'm just saying. That's my truth. Nevertheless, at the time, I felt as though I was being swallowed in quicksand. The deep ache I felt inside my gut would not subside. I longed to fill up the jagged hole that had been ripped in my soul, but where could I turn? Whew, and that is the end. Y'all. That was good. That was unexpected. I wasn't expecting that. Were you guys? Let me know what you thought of these 2 chapters. Put it down below. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Until next time.